Now the king saw the times were changing and it is time to introduce democracy. Actually, it's a constitutional democracy. And he is looking at a two-party democracy. But in the end, what happened was there were hardly two members in the opposition. But yet, I would say, democracy is taking roots in Bhutan. It has completed 1 year, and the institutions are all growing. And they have problems in implementing the various articles of the constitution because democracy is developing. So the Prime Minister said that we cannot follow rigidly the various provisions of the constitution. Rather, it should be the other way, that they should put to test the articles, go to the Supreme Court, get settled decisions, and go along, rather than saying that we can't implement the constitution. There is one problem. The second problem is people are learning about what democracy means, what their rights are. They have got a national council, that is upper house, who think that there is a supervisory monitoring body, which is not. So it will take time for them to settle down. I would say there is a benign king who is genuine about introducing certain basic democratic principles. Having said that, we go into the refugee problem. There are definitely, out of the 130,000 refugees abroad, 80 to 90,000 are genuine Bhutanese citizens. Here you have a case, whether they are under category 2 or category 1, it does not matter. Category 2, I consider, was forced on them. They were forced to sign a voluntary
migration.
No, they voluntarily gave up their citizenship. And having owned so many acres of land and here a very good life, if they have voluntarily gone to live as a refugee, I don't believe that. So having said that, about 80 to 90,000 refugees who are genuine Bhutanese have been kept out of this constitution making process, have been kept out of the election process. That is rather sad.
And India, Bhutan and India's relationship is always described as the best in the world. And now, Bhutanese refugees who are chased out of Bhutan by the government were dumped in Nepal by the Indian security forces, military. Now the same refugees, when they want to go back to Bhutan, Indian government doesn't allow that. How does this paradox fit into India-Bhutan's best relationship?
The relationship you are talking about a level from the point of view of the refugee. If you see it from the point of view of the two countries, the relations are excellent, or perhaps the best amongst the neighboring countries. That's one. Number two, India has to depend on Bhutan for its power, and Bhutan has to depend on India for its security and safety. Therefore, there is also a special relation between Bhutan and India. And India, as I see, despite knowing very well that what Bhutan has done is not the right thing, does not want to, stir the pot and create more problems for Bhutan. That's number one. Number two, the refugees who are saying you are genuine Bhutanese citizens, no problem. If Bhutan government is willing to take them, Indian government is not going to stand in their way. But what Indian government cannot do is, if you take the refugees out of Nepal, the Bhutan does not take them, they become refugees again in India. So India does not want to have more refugees, particularly Bhutanese refugees. This is their official policy. Personally, I feel the whole problem would not have been there had India in 1990, 91, 92, when they crossed over from Bhutan, or they were chased out from Bhutan into the upper plains of Assam and West Bengal, India could have easily absorbed the 80,000. It is nothing for them. It's a small thing, it's a big pot. If India can accept millions of illegals from Bangladesh, and many state governments vying to give them the voters card, ration card and all, to make them legitimate citizens, these 80,000 people were hardworking, extremely religious, innocent, who could have contributed to the Indian economy. they were, because of the good relationship with the official Bhutanese government, had to take them from the Bhutan border into Nepal. Particularly when many of these people, refugees, have not even seen Nepal, did not even know where Nepal was. They knew only India. That's a sad part of it.
So if India is a good friend of Bhutanese people or Bhutan, then India would have said to Bhutanese government, my dear friend, what you are doing is not good. Please don't chase out these Bhutanese Lhotshampa people. India could have said like this, because these Lhotshampa people are actually Hindu, and India is the biggest Hindustani.
Okay. Now let us not bring religion into this.
Okay.
Let us not look at it from the religious point of view.
Uh-huh.
You look at it from the human point of view. Here are 80,000 people chased out, and they are being shipped all the way to Nepal to live under very bad conditions. You have to see the conditions. Even today, you see the conditions of the camps. There are excellent relations people to people even today, but not necessarily it needs to be transformed into the government-to-government relationship. When the government-to-government relationship is strong, the perhaps official view here is more important than the people-to-people relationship, because people-to-people relationship will continue despite their being here or their being taken to US or anywhere. They would like to come back to India, visit the place of pilgrimage, visit Benares, visit Mathura, and many are Vaishnavas, I notice, including the Kal and company. They would like to visit Mathura and all. This is where I would appeal to India, to at least those who have gone out, when they want to come back and spend their last days, let them spend in the day in the land, the great land of like Mathura or Kashi. This is what I would prefer them to do. Whatever that has not been done, let India make amends right, at least now. This is what I would do.
So without the involvement of India, it appears to Bhutanese people who are refugees that the refugee problem will not be solved. So you as a human rights activist, how do you suggest how Nepal should pursue India for this problem, or how problem could be solved?
I am not a human rights activist in one sense, but having said that it is a human problem and it should not have been thought of as a political problem. The basic issue is not this. It is not that Bhutan does not want to have at least some percentage of Lhotshampas. My own feeling is they are willing to accept 25% of Lhotshampas. Beyond that, they feel they cannot manage. The real crux of the issue is ethnic management. This is India is aware of this. If only the two countries had discussed and could have told Bhutan, look, all right, you keep the 25%. The rest of the 10% or 20% maybe, 25, another 20% maybe, some. We will take them. They are only too willing to work here at certain places. Then Bhutan government may say, don't put them near my border, beyond, no problem. But once, anywhere, even now, I am sure many of the refugees will have some interest on the borders of southern Bhutan and India. They will be there. So, India has special relations with Bhutan, India has special relations with Nepal. And a problem of this nature cannot be solved without involvement of India. So long as India is not involved, this problem will continue, because not all the refugees are going to go back. About 80,000 will go. Still 80 to 90, maybe. Still 40,000 will be left, and this group will to grow. Out of this 40 to 50,000, I have an idea that about 30,000 will continue to remain in Nepal and continue to long for going back to Bhutan. And it is a process which is slowly, the younger elements are getting radicalized. Today it will be a small number, but ultimately, if no acceptable solution is possible, these radicalized southern Bhutanese are going to one day go and create problems in the southern Bhutan. Right now, there are very many extremist groups encouraged by Bodo militants Ulfa militants, and even the Communist Party of Nepal Maoists and all. So once they strengthen themselves, once this third country settlement is over, the residue will not be able to find jobs in Nepal. The youngsters will get radicalized. And the first target, to me, I said before, is the lands vacated by the southern Bhutanese, the refugees, are going to be filled up by somebody. May not be party, may not be, I don't know. But this will be the target. And so the poor southern Bhutanese, who are 25% number today, they are going to be again hard hit when the militants start creating problems in southern Bhutan. So it is for India to see what is the writing on the wall and at least come now to have a settlement. Don't stop the third country settlement. It's good for them. They're earning some money, they'll send the money, at least the others in the camps will be better off. Just as the NRNs and the Nepalese who have gone abroad are sending money, and that's how the economy is getting stabilized in Nepal. So let them go, let them get good education in the Ivy League universities. Don't prevent people who want to go, but don't force people to go, and give them some assurance, something which Nepal doesn't have the means. It doesn't have the infrastructure, doesn't have the money, nothing. So it's where India can help.
So another question what I want to ask is, these Lochampas who are driven out of Bhutan, who stayed in Nepal for 18 years, Bhutanese government says that they are no more Bhutanese citizens. Nepalese government says that they are Bhutanese, they are not Nepalese. So the Indian government says nothing about these people. So they are going abroad, they are going to America and Europe. After all, they have some identity which is similar to Indian identity, a religious point of view or something like that.
I would rather urge you not to bring in Indian identity here. If you bring Indian identity, there are other bigger fears in India, like the Gorkha land, like the Nepalese, about 5.5 to 6 million people. Nepalese already in India. These people, to say that they have the identity of a Nepali is not the right thing. You are putting the cart before the horse. But it's a dispute, strictly speaking, between now Nepal and Bhutan. But Nepal, the issue was thrust on them. The refugees had nowhere else to go, but Indian government refused to keep them. They had to go to the eastern Nepal, and they settled there. The question is whether they are Bhutanese citizens or not. If the verification had been done properly, even according to them, the categorization of 1, 2, 3, and 4, right, of which the 1, 2, and 3, that is the Bhutanese citizens who had given their voluntary, whatever it is, were signed the voluntary form, giving up citizenship, and third, who have got these criminal elements and all the three are Bhutanese citizens. There are only two categories, Bhutanese citizens and non-Bhutanese citizens. The classification should be only two, not four. Now, what do you do when a government type of Bhutan does not willing to accept this position and saying that they are not Bhutanese citizens because they have signed? Innumerable instances have come where people have been forced to sign. Mostly the forms were in Dzongkha. These people didn't even know Dzongkha. They have just signed and come. They didn't even, and people are asked for documents of 30, 40 years, which is not required. And the government had made a mistake in not having proper record of the citizens as per 1958. The registers have been there. They have not been completed. So who is at fault? It's the Bhutan government. Now it's too late. Now when the people are going away, the problem will be the remaining people. There is not a single gesture from Bhutan so far. After Kuranabari camp, 1,000 people or 800, 900 people have been accepted mutually by both as Bhutanese citizens. They have not taken a single citizen back so far. Now, I don't know what problems they have. They say Government of India's permission is required because they got to cross 89 kilometers of Indian territory, fine, that's not a problem. If you have the mind, if you have the will, and if they want to, they could at least show a gesture to the refugees, to the international community, that we are sincere. We will take those coronavirus people, rest we will see. Not been done. So, there's a case whether it can go in the World Court of Justice. You can go there and you can sort of, when there's a dispute on law between two countries, it can certainly be there is a scope for going and settling the issue. But for that, you need the money, if you earn, you need a sponsor, which you don't have.
Another question I personally want to ask is, I have seen, to my observation, Bhutanese government want to reduce the population of Losampas.
No, put it the other way. I would put it that way. I would say that the Bhutanese have calculated that they cannot manage beyond 25% of Losampas, minorities.
Yeah.
But that is a subjective assessment of theirs. I would say, my calculation, they can take more, 10% more, 35% they can easily have if they want to take on. Okay. Forget about the past, about the dress, culture, all that, it's not the thing. Look to the future. We must be able to persuade the Bhutan government to accept 35% at least. The fear is this 35% will not remain 35% because the fertility rates are very high in the plains. The fertility rates in the hills are very low. There you can find other ways of balancing the population. But this is a major issue. Let us not run away from the issue that ethnic management is an issue. You may recall that Lee Kuan Yew, when he found that the minorities, the population growth was much more than the main Chinese population, he imported 45,000 families of members from Hong Kong. Then no, the world did not raise any question because he only said there should be an ethnic balance. Let us maintain that balance of 80 or something and continue. So something like that these people can do. But let them come out and frankly say that this is not their say. In fact, many of these people who are going abroad now for education and all, there will be excellent material who will be of use for the development of Bhutan in days to come. I am hoping, praying that some of them will come back not to India, not to stay abroad and work, come back to Bhutan and make Bhutan, southern Bhutan, a prosperous place.
Okay, that should be wonderful. Just last question, please.
Yeah.
If if the people who are sent out of the country should disappear in outside world, and if the case is that the Bhutanese government want to reduce the population of the Losampas, and whatever population they have sent out of the country should disappear somewhere in the world, if this trend continues, will there be a world problem? Because there are some other states in the world some leaders want to reduce some part of their population, and
no, I don't buy that. For the reason, the world is too big. Countries like Canada, Australia, even portions of Africa, there are vast places available. That crunch has not come. But it doesn't mean that the Bhutanese refugees who are gone for third country settlement would lose their identity totally. I don't believe, because I have seen in my own case, on many others, both my children abroad, they become citizens of USA. But it's a losing battle. But I try to tell them the Indian culture, Indian unity, whatever it is. I want them to come and visit their places where they were born, the native places, native temple and all. So a cultural identity can be maintained maybe for another 2 generations or 3 generations. If you can form some social organizations, if you can form the non-resident Bhutanese refugees, association like this, to have your own, to maintain your culture, to continue with your culture at the same time, don't go for confrontation with the existing culture. It is possible to have a happy blend with the culture, the surroundings where you are working and your own background surroundings. That could be a balance. It could continue. I am not so pessimistic that the 100,000 are going to vanish into thin air or vanish into the wilderness. No. These are all good people working. They know what the Ganges water means. They know what Kashi is. They know what Mathura is. They know everything. There is a family god in every house. You have God. You got your own what you call family god. You got a village god. You see, you are the Hindu. No, I don't see any problem in that right now. Right now, if this exodus from Bhutan continues, which I get the feeling that Bhutanese have told, this is what I hear to Indian authorities, there will be no more of sending the southern Bhutanese out into the camps. So that portion is over. So what is to be done is, what do you do with this portion? How do you manage these radicalized youth? How do you keep those people abroad, keep sane and retain their cultural identity? This is a problem which can be sorted out. You people are all there to do it. It can be done. I am not so pessimistic as you are.
Okay, last question please. Now, before third country settlement began for the refugees, American diplomats, few of them came to India, went to Bhutan also.
Yes.
So, do you think third country settlement was recommended as a solution by India to help Bhutan as its best friend?
No. But any solution was welcome. I would put it that it was not at the initiative of India. In fact, you recall the American diplomat, in fact, was asked by the refugees, why do you want to take them to third country? Why do you want to do it? The lady, I don't remember, she said there was no other choice for you. Otherwise, you would have been languishing in these camps for years. We wanted to do something because it's the only way out to get you out of this. And camps will have to be dismantled sometime or other. There is no alternative. This is the only way to take you, not otherwise. If India had agreed, do you think you Americans are going to come and say, take 70,000? No, India was not agreeable. And India would not ask the Americans of all persons to say, take them. No. Initiative came from them, from the world body, from the other European countries, mainly from the, I must say, I have great admiration. The way in which US offered to take 65,000 is not a small number, mind you. And see, if you go through their instructions and all, they are genuinely trying to keep them, ensure that they learn English, they find a job, and there is a community, or should I say, help available. It's a kind of an arrangement we don't have in India. But I'm glad at least US came forward to do that.
So last, do you have some comment, something to add, something to tell about this Bhutanese refugee problem?
What about the?
Last thing, do you have some comments to tell, some additional comments to tell, something to tell, something more to tell? Do you have anything more special to tell?
No additional comments, and I'm hoping that some of them at least will go back. Particularly old people. You cannot, I'm quite old, I don't feel comfortable in a third country. I would rather go back to my native place rather be in Delhi. This is the situation. If only the government of India could allow old people, both in the camps and who are already opted for third country, to come back to India. They are not going to be of any problem to anybody. They are not going to create a law and order problem in Bhutan. They will not create a law and order problem in India. And they will have the money because these youngsters who are gone now, will be able to give them enough money, provide them to stay, and India will also be benefited. If only that can happen, I think my duty is done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.